Alrighty then, so this morning I woke up and I got this video recommended to me by Jack Morgan, and it's a video that talks about the loneliest generation. And of course, I took the transcript, put it into Chat GPT. It gave me again some strange talking points. But before I get into those, I just wanted to talk about my own individual story. So, I've been single my entire adult life, and I really haven't had any friends in my life. Like, I've never been on a camping trip, I've never been on a road trip, I've never been on an airplane, I've never been on vacation outside of my family when I was much younger, of course. And I've been an orphan since I was about 16 years old. So, isolation and loneliness is the only way that I've experienced life. And now, suddenly, that it's become more mainstream to live like I do, it's a problem. And I don't understand because there are certain individuals whose personalities are awful, including myself, right? I don't work on my personality because, frankly, who cares? How many people do I talk to on the average day? Almost none. Other than going to work and witnessing my own Gen Zero failing at life every single day. Like, I have years now of hiring low level workers, right? Entry level, minimum wage workers. And if there's one thing they all had in common is that they were painfully single and they were all virgins. And you're talking about virgins for life. These are going to be your 40-year-old virgins because they are not going anywhere, mainly because of the simple reason that they don't have money. They were all living at home, and they have the terrible personalities. I mean, these people never really develop personalities. And again, when I talk to my current Gen Zero, I see so many of my own flaws in just my basic interactions with them that I don't like talking to them because I see too much of myself. And I'm not happy with that. But I understand the loneliest generation because as a person who's had to deal with that my whole life, you just have to come to the realization. And that's why this channel is so real, is because I'm here to tell you the facts. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's hard being alone, but eventually you have to get used to it. And in my opening monologue, this is a paragraph straight out of the story I asked ChatGPT to make. So I know I've said this before, but this is how I make all my videos. Transcript, story. I tell ChatGPT, act as a very young woman who is very poor and write me a script. And it does. And this is one of the lines, one of the paragraphs that it came up with as part of that script. But here's the question no one's asking. If this is the new normal, how do we fix it? How do we go from being a generation of lonely individuals to building relationships, real ones, that last? Just like fixing the economy, you don't fix this. Our system currently has progressively been moving towards making people more lonely because they're easier to control. Happy proles want things like better wages, relationships, benefits, better hours, flexible schedules, vacations, savings accounts, and a retirement. Well, our society isn't built like that anymore. You are lucky to have the job that you have, and 65% of us are trapped in our current jobs. 65% of people want to move out of their current job, including myself, to something higher paying, something with more flexible hours. But we can't. I've been on Indeed now for, Jesus, for it seems like forever trying to find something better, and I can't. I'm trapped. And until someone tosses you out, like flushing the toilet, you can't move. And that makes you even worse because I've been on vacation now. Today's day 7 of my vacation this year, and I still have 7 days to go. Oh my God, I don't go back to work until next Wednesday. And I literally just been sitting here in the dark, just staring off into space, waiting to get a video idea so that I can do something. But I don't like doing things alone, and that really has hindered me in my entire life. As I've said, I've never been out with other people, like in a group. I mean, if I ever hang out with someone, it's going to be for a couple of hours with one person that probably is in the same boat that I am, where they don't have any friends either. And so by default, when you don't have any friends, you go and you hang out with someone you'd rather not be with, and then get home and think, oh my God, I just wasted all that time and that money on something that I wasn't even going to enjoy. In fact, that's something my physical therapist said yesterday to me. She's like, Millennials team, I want you to give yourself a present and go get something you really like to eat and sit down and enjoy it. And I just looked at her and said, I don't enjoy eating anything. That to me, I have never felt a time in my life in which there was absolutely nothing I look forward to eating. McDonald's, when I was a kid, was an extreme joy to eat. I remember loving Burger King as a little kid. I Everything that used to taste good now tastes like crap, including life. And as I say in nearly all my videos, they're trying to normalize the low quality of all aspects of human life. Your work sucks, your food sucks, your relationships suck. Everything about life tastes like taint. And we're supposed to, the corporations and policymakers have been trying to normalize this now for years. But human beings aren't stupid. We taste what relationships feel like and taste like in our mouth, and we're like, ugh, we're all throwing up in our own mouth over and over and over again. That's all I do all day. I look at the news and I'm like, oh God, it's coming out again. I look at the people around me at the gym and again, gag reflex. You go to the grocery store, you look at the high costs and you're like, you know what? I'm not buying this. There's absolutely nothing to eat in my refrigerator. And that's on purpose because I'm not going to spend money, a lot of money, on food that I'm not going to enjoy eating. Same thing with relationships. Why spend money when you know what's going to happen? It's not worth it. And with that said, let's get into my chat GPT talking points from this video that you guys are seeing or were seeing up on the screen. I probably took it down a long time ago. I still need to generate the AI artwork for this, so you and I will figure out what that looks like at the same time. So here we go. Talking point number one. Highlight how the convenience of digital platforms has ironically made forming real life relationships harder, especially for men who may struggle with self presentation or face rejection online. Face rejection, people. Let's face it. Some of us are not good in front of the camera. I myself, I consider myself to be a very unattractive person. And so going anywhere near a camera is definitely off limits. My self esteem and taking shots, it just doesn't go together. That self presentation that you have to be very good at in order to be successful online as a man, it's nearly impossible for a lot of us because if you put your face on an app like Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge, whatever you put it on, the second they see someone that's as ugly as you are, you're going to get the swipe in the wrong direction. And so you've rejected yourself, and society's rejected you a long time ago. I've been on Tinder a few times while I was incredibly wasted. I mean, we're talking 3 sheets to the wind and nothing. And eventually you get to the point where the people that do swipe the correct way towards you, you just look at that pile of people and you're just like, ew. And you know what? When they saw your picture too, guess what they said? Ew, as well. And so you're like, okay, well, ew, ew, no. What I find attractive and what finds me attractive, it always comes down to this. If this many men are out there If two-thirds of men are out there in the world right now that are single without wanting to be single. That's one of the big highlights from this particular article. Two-thirds of men, young men in America currently are not in a relationship and they're not happy about it. And I can only imagine that many men out there with no reason to try, right? Why try if you're not going to get a piece of the pie and a piece of the pie that you want, not pity pie? And so, this many angry single men in the job economy isn't good for anyone. Having a bunch of men in your world that are angry at the way that they're being treated and forced to live in their parents' house into their 30s and 40s and maybe even into their 50s. I work with a bunch of guys that are in their mid 40s right now that have to live at home. Literally, they're still living with their mothers in their mid 40s and they're house poor. They can't afford their own home. And so therefore they're going to stay with their mother until the mother loses the house, and then they're both going to be homeless. I have this conversation with one particular employee all the time, and it makes him nervous. You can tell, you can hear on the phone the PTSD at what the future holds for him, and it is homelessness because there's no way that he can afford his own home on what he currently makes. All right, talking point number 2. Explore how financial instability, lack of job security, and rising living costs impact men's ability to pursue relationships. Many feel they can't afford to date or commit to serious relationships, contributing to feelings of inadequacy and withdrawal from the dating scene. Again, two-thirds of young men are shaking hands with the governor while watching the hub. And so, financial instability, I feel it. I feel it every single day. As I said, I've been on Indeed looking for some sort of stability for a long time. And the fact that you see people losing their jobs in real time, a lack of job security weighs very heavily on the American public right now, which contributes to feelings of despair, depression, and anxiety. The cost of living will never go back down ever again. And there's nothing that makes you feel more pathetic than having to beat the governor while your mom is in the next room. Like, I remember I moved in with these boomers after the financial crisis, and man, was it weird. Like, I mean, you can hear them talking in the other room, and it really kills it for you. And the fact that you need to have a serious income to be with another person right now, or you end up like so many women that I've met in the past year where they're in what they think is a committed relationship until he decides that he's no longer interested in the relationship. Like, the pie no longer has the interest of this person anymore, and they just drop out. The girl that lives across the street from me in this apartment complex, she's coming down to the last few days of figuring out what's going to happen to her because her serious relationship fell apart and they were renting an apartment together, meaning she can't afford her own place, which many of us cannot afford to live by ourselves. I mean, I live by myself, but it's very expensive. But those feelings of inadequacy, I get that every single day. That's why I go to the gym twice a day. My average workout time on any given day, especially on days in which I don't work, is going to be 2 hours in the gym every single day just to maintain what I currently have. Has it ever got me anything? No. Would I feel even worse off if I was fat and out there and single? Yes. I mean, I look at the proletariat men at my gym sometimes and I think, that guy right there is going to be single for the rest of his life. And yesterday, while I was walking on the treadmill, when I got there, there's the usual blonde girl that got there like a minute before I did. We always end up at the gym at about the same time. And then I looked over in the corner and I saw another 10 out of 10. And she was, I'd never seen her before. She's just, lifting little tiny weights in the corner, just looking super hot. And you're just like, those two girls, there's no one in that gym that would be on the same level as them. And again, when you do things at the same time in a gym, you're going to see the same people showing up every single day. And it's something that it boggles my mind at how much we want a relationship. But as the script that I was reading talked about, is that men don't want to put forth the minimum effort. I mean, at one point it talks about personal hygiene as a barrier to relationships for men because they don't want to cut their hair, they don't want to brush their teeth, they don't want to lose weight. They don't want to do anything because that's what happens when you become incredibly depressed. Your personal hygiene goes into the toilet and you start dealing with body odor issues. And I've seen that throughout my entire life in the workplace where you don't care if you smell because no one is going to go near you anyway, just based on your physical appearance. All right, let's get into our final talking point here. With fewer friendships and support systems, men are left without the interpersonal skills or confidence to build meaningful connections, perpetuating a cycle of loneliness. This I witness on a daily basis with Gen Zero. He has no interpersonal skills whatsoever. And people will sometimes come up to me and ask me what's wrong with him. And I'm like, autism. I mean, that's all I can say is that those interpersonal skills never got developed. And a lot of that has to do with people avoiding you based on your physical appearance. I mean, he's short, he's dark, he's balding, and on top of that, he's got the personality of a weirdo, just like me. And so I look at him and I think to myself, oh my gosh, there's only one place this dude's going to go back to, and that's straight back to his hometown and perpetuate the cycle of loneliness. And while I think that for myself as well, except I don't have anywhere to go. I'm stuck in this tiny little apartment probably for the rest of my life because it's all I can afford. And if I were to have to go back to a more entry level job, I would be wasting 85 to 90% of my income just to keep myself housed. And that would create an even worse situation because now I would be struggling to survive. And many people who are struggling to survive, if you're in survival mode, you don't have time or the resources to look for a significant other. You don't have the resources to improve your personal skills. Or as someone said, as long as you're somewhere between a 3 and a 6, if you're in the middle of the attractiveness scale, you're attractive enough so that you don't have to work on your interpersonal skills. But at the same time, it's going to keep you trapped as a single person because chances are people who are in that bracket want to reach up into the higher tiers of the attractiveness level, right? You're not a 1. So as long as you have some aesthetics that you are going to pursue the higher level numbers of attractiveness that aren't going to find you attractive, putting you again in a perpetual cycle of loneliness. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And it really is hard to imagine a world where 2/3 of men are single. And with that, just saying that number again makes you understand why the job market is the way it is. Why invest in people who aren't going to be interested in uh, in high level jobs? Most of these men that drop out of dating are men that aren't looking for work. They're sitting at home at their parents' house, probably getting an allowance, and they have no interest in anything that men used to pursue. Men used to thrive to sacrifice themselves in order to get into relationships. Now they have no reason to sacrifice. What early 30s man is going to be excited about life when he's wearing a uniform of a fast food worker, standing next to someone who probably dropped out of high school or is still in high school, and you're both making the same hourly wage. Your McPaycheck isn't going to attract the opposite sex.